Alberts of the Four Aces. And I'm glad to meet you, Mr. Albert.
Carol, nice seeing you.
Thank you. I would like to know, how did you all meet each other? How did you all get started at the beginning?
You got about 2 hours? It all started in the Navy some years ago. I was aboard a destroyer, and our ship was coming back into America, and we were hurt in the Battle of Southern France and couldn't make it back to port, so we wound up in Argentia, Newfoundland. And once we pulled into port there, I was a singer before the war, but hadn't sung for like 4 years. And as soon as I got to the base there, I found out there was a band. And well, wow, this was great, you know. And I went to the band quarters, and I found that one of the guys in the band was literally a neighbor of mine back home in Philadelphia. So we got to be good friends, and while the ship was in port there, we were there about 3 or 4 months. We got to be very good friends, and I wound up singing with the band in my off hours. And we decided that once we get out of the service, we'd go to college, and to make those couple of extra bucks in a weekend, we'd start a little group, you know. And when we did get out, Dave Mahoney is the fellow I met up there in Newfoundland. He introduced me to Sadi and Lou, who he went to school with. And that was the beginning of the Four Aces back in... That's a long time ago. But at any rate, the one thing that very few people know about the Four Aces, Carol, is when we started as an instrumental group, not as a singing group. Dave was our tenor sax player, Louis was our drummer, Saad our trumpet player, I was the piano player of the group who sang with a boom microphone. And after doing this for a couple of years, one night we're all feeling pretty good, and there was a kind of a contest. Could we all sing the parts that we had been playing all these years? And that was the beginning of the Four Aces, and the miracle is when we tested the voices, we had a natural tenor, a natural bass, a baritone, and a lead voice. Now, if we would have had 2 bass singers or 2 tenors, or who's to say you can sing, we could possibly wind up with 3 guys who really can't sing, you know. But the miracle was that we had 4 voices, each in a different category, and that's what started it all, back in 1951 with It's No Sin.
Okay, now in the beginning, when you first went to college, you were majoring in journalism, so you just, did you lose interest all of a sudden?
No, it wasn't a question of losing interest. At graduation, I was scheduled to graduate in June of 1951. Around January of that year, we were playing literally the same club. We went in there on a 2-week contract, and we wound up staying there for 4 years. In January of that year, we found this song, It's No Sin. You're too young to remember that.
I'm just
Take
24.
the record home and play it. Take the record home and play it. But we found the song It's No Sin, and the club we were playing was called the Old Mill, outside of Philadelphia. And we were in the middle of 4 or 5 colleges and universities there. And towards February and March, the following in the club was getting ready to go home for their summer vacations. In the meantime, we had found this song, It's No Sin, and we were playing it in the club. And the kids started to ask, did we have a record of this? Because when they went home, they would like to take a copy of this thing home. My wife and I, she was my girlfriend at the time, were getting ready to get married in June at graduation time. And we had saved, after 4 years, a total of $500, which was a lot of money back then.
I know.
And I talked her out of the $500 and we delayed getting married, and we didn't get married really for 2 years after that, and starting a record company with the sole purpose of producing It's No Sin.
Is that your first album?
That was the first single record.
The first single record.
Single record.
And your first album? was?
Well, the first album came about a year later with Decca Records. The name of that one was Mood for Love.
Okay, and this is your second album, the Sentimental Souvenirs?
Sentimental Souvenirs, that was another on Decca, yeah. In fact, after all of these years, the parent company of Decca is now MCA Records. And they just released a 2-album package on us. Again, I say after all of these years, including all of our gold records in the one package, and it's called The Best of the Four Aces. So that a lot of the things here that have been out of print, all of a sudden, either the nostalgia thing or whatever's doing it, but the original recordings are all selling like we just made them back in the 50s. And naturally, we're happy about that, you know.
No, I also understand that you're involved in the Albert Showcase in Philadelphia on Channel 6. How do you find time to go out and entertain across the country, or do you go across the country very often?
Well, very difficult. But no, it's a matter of coordination. I love what I'm doing on television back home in Philadelphia. We work with children. And we've had the show on the air now for 13 years.
Is this including the other 4?
No, I host it alone. My wife produces the show. And we have had a lot of stars come out of the show. One little girl who started with us when she was 4 left us about 4 years ago when she was 11. And she turned out to be the first Annie on Broadway. Andrea McCardle was one of our kids. Sister Sledge first started with the Showcase. Teddy Pendergrass, one of his first television shows, was what made on Showcase. So a lot of kids came out of the show. And I get a kick out of watching national television now and seeing some of the kids who, you know, were just learning how to hold a microphone.
Maybe I should come there and be a star and become a star.
Hey, why not? That's what the show's all about, you know.
Okay, well, we're going to watch your practice, and you can give the audience, you know, let the audience see some of your entertainment and, you know, hear some of your songs.
Oh,
Okay with you? Okay.
We're just about ready to start rehearsing now.
Okay, thank you.
And in 52, we were lucky to, 'cause we wrote our very first song. And it made a big impression, 'cause it asked a simple question.
We say.